there was just always that voice that was like, hey, like there could be something else out there.
Hey, you want to make some
like,
money?
hey, you want to be on a beach every day of your life selling stuff off of a laptop? And I'm like, I feel like this might be too good to be true, but you have me sold. So tell me more. So
can I ask you, you said that he swiped one too many times. Was it common for people to put these machines on their credit card?
Oh yeah.
I just had a chill go down my spine when you said that.
Get the machine. Like, you'll make the money back. You got to believe. You have to
swipe it, baby.
Swipe it down, baby. Yeah, that's exactly how it was.
Welcome to Fake Guru. Welcome to Coffeezilla. Today we're talking about Kangen Water. We have Eddie here. You wanted to come on and tell us your experience. So tell us what's going on.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on your wonderful show here.
Sure thing.
I guess I'd like to start off, once I kind of realized, for the most part, like what a scam was, the Nigerian prince and, all those things, like it seemed like you could kind of stay away from that. But like the smarter the scammer became, the more difficult it was to deter.
They've evolved, dude. They've evolved.
They have. And that's the hardest thing to like, sometimes you just, I don't know, they're in the same skin, you just can't pick them out all the time. So for me, when I transitioned, out of the military, I started.
Well, wait, let's start with a little background. So you were in the military.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So I was in the military, and I was in the military for a couple of years.
What
mostly
branch?
Army. Yeah. I was a combat engineer, so like we would go and play with demolitions and blow stuff up and stuff like that. So it was
nice.
It was a pretty sweet job.
And thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Appreciate it.
And actually, prior to that, which kind of pushed me towards getting into this in the first place, I went to culinary school, and after culinary school, I thought, okay, so I kind of want to, get into a restaurant, kind of work my way up and, do all of that and maybe have a restaurant, whatnot. But then like things changed, life shifted and whatnot. And then I left, I joined.
Hold on. Help us get into your mind. People want to know who Eddie is for a second. You went to culinary school, then became a combat engineer. That's a rare breed. I don't think there are many of those.
All right.
You out there.
So one of the things that made it, I guess, difficult. A lot of people thought that I did that backwards, which to me made sense when they said it. But then, at the time I thought, well, like I was going to join anyway. I guess I just went to school first. Because usually, you like go to the military and then you get out and then you go to school and do something. But then I did it before and then I joined and then people were like, why'd you do that? You're paying for it yourself. I'm like, I don't know. I like to cook. Like, what do you want from me? But yeah, so then, and actually before I even went to culinary school, I was a wildland firefighter. So when I was fresh out of high school, my buddy's dad, he owned a company and he was like, hey, you guys want to come out on the trail with us? Like, we're going to make a ton of good money. And it was doing wildland firefighting. And so we went out there and we were like, off deep in the woods, just around like 1,000-acre forest fire. And
isn't that like super dangerous?
Yeah, there's like the few seasons that I worked out there, there's like a handful of people that died while I was out there. I mean, not like people that I was with, but like in like the general I guess, area of the, in the state or whatever.
Right now you're holding the record for the most unique job history that I've ever heard.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to be a jack of all trades. I don't know. Whatever.
Scammed by one.
Scammed by one. So then I ended up, I did that, then went to school, and then joined the military. And then after that, I got out, and I just decided, well, all of my experience is, still in the kitchen. And so I went back and started cooking again. But then,
for a restaurant or?
So for restaurants, and then I also worked for a company called Hy-Vee. Do you guys have Hy-Vee out there? No? Like, it's kind of like Safeway. Do you have Safeway out there?
Oh, like a grocery store.
Yeah, it's a grocery store.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like one of the like store chefs. So like I would go out and I do demonstrations of food and things like that. And probably a year into it, I really liked my job, and I guess, I mean, honestly, I was having like a good amount of fun, but then at the same time, there was just always that voice that was like, hey, like there could be something else out there.
Hey, you want to make some money?
Hey, you want to see a dead body? Yeah, that's pretty much, that's how it was. And I kept telling myself, like, I don't know if I just don't have that personality, like I'm just not the salesman. Like my dad was a salesman, but I never could be, because I don't know, like I'm persuasive with charm. I'm not persuasive with,
I feel charmed finesse already.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was about a year into this job, and then I decided, well, like I kind of want to look for something else. And I was on Facebook, like I was saying, and there was like some ad that I came across, and in the ad, the guy essentially, they didn't say, like the ads that you see a lot now are like, Amazon, selling on Amazon, the FBA, or like drop shipping, or a lot of stock trading and stuff like that. And in the ad that I saw, it was like really, really vague, and they essentially just said like, hey, you want to be on a beach every day of your life selling stuff off of a laptop? And I'm like, I feel like this might be too good to be true, but you have me sold, so tell me more. So so eventually, and I actually ended up saving like the page that it was on, so I could go back to it to check it. And a couple of days later, I went back and I was like, oh man, okay, let's take a look at it. So I go in, and then there was it was essentially like you sit in on a webinar, and it was not like the master class, but it was like, they called it like the what is that, like the mastermind group, right? And so
master something,
master of none. Yeah. And so you'd go in there and they'd give you the spiel of, what they're trying to do. And really it just came down to like, they're selling hope / freedom / probably a product that maybe you could sell if you were good enough.
Wait, so at this point, you really don't even know what they're selling.
No. So
that's amazing to me.
Honestly,
that's so mind blowing.
That's the biggest thing that I was like, in the beginning, I thought, oh man, like whatever it is, as long as I can sell something, like then I can make money selling whatever. Like I'll be selling something, whatever.
Sure.
But then because they were so vague, it ended up being like, there were a lot of people that were like, wait a minute. Cause so in the webinars, they have like a little chat bar, and in the chat bar, there'd be people typing, and they're like, everybody get out. It's an MLM. Like it's a pyramid scheme. Get out of here. And the people running the video, they're like, all right, if we see anyone say pyramid scheme again, like we're just going to start banning all of you.
We're going to have to close this chat down. No way.
It was like,
that's a bad sign. Whenever you have to censor the comments to say, don't say pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
That is a very bad sign.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense because like when they were saying that, they're like, they started calling on some of the other people that were like already in it. They're like, hey, go there and shame them. Like, get them out. Like, they can't be doing that. Like, don't let them say that stuff.
That's horrible.
All of us innocent people, right? All of us hardworking, innocent Americans were like, hey, like, can you just tell us what we're selling? Like, tell me what it is.
It's so funny because like that is such a uniquely MLM thing. Like I can't think of another product, even like gurus and stuff like that. They tell you what you're selling.
Yeah.
MLMs are so weird like that, aren't they? I've been to a few MLM seminars and trying to get them to explain their compensation plan and how you actually get paid is so convoluted. It's like pulling teeth. It's impossible.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, so like when I finally got to like the meat of it, right? The only time that you knew what you were going to sell is after you bought what you were going to sell. So you had to buy into it and then you could start selling it. Yeah.
That's so weird, dude. Come on.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much of a fool I was. Probably good enough of one, but it ended up that I got on a call and it was pretty much an interview. And the guy that I talked to, he made it seem like it was an actual interview, you know? And so he was talking about, oh, hey, like, are you sure that you can commit to something like this? Like, this is really going to change your life, man. Like, this is going to be crazy, man.
Hey, Eddie, are you sure you can handle this much money? I don't know if you can handle it, man. I don't know if you can handle so much money in your pocket. Be careful because some people say, yes, they're not ready for this level of money. It changes people. And you're like,
you buy your own personal jet. Can you do that? Yes, I'm up to the task. Let's do it. So, so I get through the phone process, and finally, they give you the spiel of like, okay, we have this line of products. You can purchase one, which was it was called the Ukon, which essentially was just a pill, like a supplement pill.
To be clear, you've now figured out that it's Kangen water. You've looked this thing up.
So no, because as he was selling it to me, like in the phone call, the only time that I found out what it was as he was like, hey, look at this. And then he started shooting all these facts, and it was a 25-minute phone call. And so he pretty much made it seem like, he gave the scarcity mentality, to me, like, oh, hey, we only got this, much time on the phone call. Like, we really got to get through this. And so when he explained what it was, then like, that was the first time that I even knew what the product actually was, when he told me what I was buying. And so
that's so bizarre to me. And when you got pitched this, had you ever been pitched an MLM before? Like, did you know what you were dealing with? Have you ever been in an MLM?
So honestly, not exactly. So in the beginning, I thought, I thought that I could, like I said before, like stay away from, scams like that, or, the Nigerian prince type of deal.
Everyone thinks that.
And see, that's what I said. Once they, evolve and they know what to push on you, what to look for, then they kind of know how to sell it to you.
Yes.
And so once I find out that that it's actually like you are under a person, they become your mentor, and then that person has a mentor, and then that person has a mentor, and then it goes on and on and on, up until the CEO or whoever, and he's pretty much like, looking at his numbers like, oh, cool, we made this many millions, like, awesome, going back to the pool, like, it's no big deal to him. But for all the people like, underneath, especially the people starting out, then it's like, it just seems like an impossible, hill to climb, because Like nobody's going to buy the machine.
Well, many critics of MLM would say that is by design. It's to make money for the people at the top and not much money for people at the bottom.
Yeah. And
like 99% of people in most MLMs don't make money. I mean, there have been studies done on this. And, at this point, when you buy in, you're just looking for a way out of what you're kind of like humdrum job. And you're thinking, I got to find a way to make more money or.
So pretty much, yeah. Like I was actually freshly married at the time. And so then I was like,
details, dude. You're so slow to give details.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Are you still married?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
is there any relation? I'm sorry to hear that, by the way. Is there any relation or it was totally separate issues?
What do you mean? Like between
the MLM and things not working?
Oh, somewhat. And
really?
I mean, yeah, really it kind of put like an unnecessary stressor on a lot of things,
I feel kind of bad for asking. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
No. It's cool. So really, because, so freshly being married, and then I was like, man, I really need to figure some stuff out and try and take some, find a new avenue of, making that sweet millionaire bank, like however I can, which obviously doesn't exist like that. But I was like 24, so I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. But so I buy into it, and once I do, then really the price of things and like all the costs for the products and stuff like that, like it all kind of starts to escalate, right? Once I get to the point of breaking like the $2,000 threshold, it became like, okay, I kind of want to pursue this full time. And so I left the job that I had.
And you spent $2,000.
Right.
And you quit your job because of that. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
No, not because of the $2,000, but because of like I felt like I needed to spend more time on.
Oh, you were committing.
Right. I was just committing more, of myself to it. And so what I pretty much did was.
Did your team tell you to do that? Your little hype team that was with you? They were like, hey.
Oh man.
Eddie, quit your job, Eddie. You're not going to be serious until you quit your job, Eddie.
You should have seen some of the chats, man. So
tell me about them. Tell me about them.
So some of it was like, so people will come in fresh, and like even it's so weird because like even only being a few weeks into it, somebody new comes in and they're like, welcome this person, like they just bought in at this level or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, they don't know anything yet. Like this is, I can't wait. And the worst part is I still didn't know anything. Like what did I know? Nothing. We were all dummies. But in the chats, a lot of the time it was like, oh yeah, man, working to fire my boss. Like that's the whole point of, doing all this. Financial freedom for everybody. But then slowly, one by one, sure enough, people start kind of dropping off, and people are like one guy became homeless and he was living in his car, and then like he just wasn't on Facebook anymore. Like he was just gone. Like I don't know. Like he was just gone.
Did he drink too much Kangen water? What happened to him?
I don't know. My best guess is he swiped one too many times and had no swipes left, and
really?
And was I feel like sometimes in times of desperation you'll kind of do whatever you need to
right.
keep making yourself believe that it's going to work.
Right.
And in some of the webinars, it was funny because they would do this thing where they'd be like, hey, you got to figure out like how, we need to sell, like we need to do this, we need to keep bringing people in. Like that's how you build your team. That's how you build wealth. And everything, by the way, was based on this like crazy system where you'd go from like, it was an alphanumeric system where you'd go like 1A to 2A to, so on and so forth up to like 6. And then they'd start mixing in dashes and stuff. And it was like, there were a lot of levels, to climb up to. But apparently like at the top of the mountain, you would get a check for the rest of your life, even if you just stopped selling stuff. So everyone was trying to shoot for that. Right.
Can I ask you, you said that he swiped one too many times. Was it common for people to put these machines on their credit card?
Oh yeah. I
just had a chill go down my spine when you said that.
But see, that's the thing. Like it wasn't only cards. They were like, they would try and get you to just like take out loans too. Like any way that you could run credit, get the machine. Like you'll make the money back. You got to believe. You have to
swipe it, baby.
Swipe it down, baby. Yeah, that's exactly how it was. And that was like, honestly, that was one of the things that was.
Hold on, pick your mic back up. You just knocked your mic down a little bit.
Cool. Got it?
Thanks. Oh, that's so much better. Yeah, okay. That's perfect. Sorry about that.
And really, that was one of the things that kind of made it a little scary, because once you see people like they start dropping off and you're like, man, I had seen this firsthand. Either the switch flips to the position of, oh, hey, that's one less person. That's one less person to compete with. Or like, you care about people like you should, even as a salesman, like you should have, any kind of, human feelings left in you, not just in it for the money.
Do you feel like there wasn't a lot of human feelings at the MLM, like a lot of cutthroat behavior, or what?
So later on into it, I found out that some of the people ended up getting kicked out because, so once I got into the group that I was in, it was a community of like 1,500 people or something like that. So pretty good size. And they were working on this software where you could go in and you could like do courses and like watch videos, and they do tips and whatever. And once people started seeing that was picking up, some of the people that fell off of that group started trying to like cross recruit some of those other people to do their own thing. And once they started doing that, then, it was the top sellers going at each other. And then we're down here like, we just want to sell something. Like, what's going on?
And they're telling you, move over here, come over here where the money is.
Exactly. And they're just trying to pull you.
I just saw that with FutureNet, where this guy, Ryan Conley, was kind of accused of cross promoting. He denies it, of course, but I have to say that it's an allegation. It's just an allegation. But I do feel like a lot of the people who you find that really do well with MLMs, it's not their first MLM. It's not their first rodeo. They've been doing it for a very long time. And they usually are dragging kind of people with them from thing to thing. And that's how they build up their network, is like being like, hey, you guys who are with me at that like MLM over there, that failed MLM, come over here, come over here, come over here. And so maybe it was that people at the top were jumping ship or something. Like they felt like, oh, we're going to go here, see if we can make some money here. Or, I mean, because how many water machines can you sell?
Isn't
that the problem with this? Like Herbalife, you can sell shakes for days. You can sell shakes forever because people keep buying shakes. With the water machine, it seems like you buy one, you're done, right?
Right. So the one thing that it seemed like they kept doing is like they would go and they would sell. They called it. What did they call that? The trifecta. They called it the trifecta, and that was essentially buying into. There was a mobile water machine. There was a machine that you'd put in your home, like a stationary one, and then the pills, and you could just take those wherever, And once you bought in at that, you would jump up one full level, but at the same time, like they made it seem like everyone needed these machines, like that's the lie that you've been fed. And for some people, that's the lie that they kept eating. Like that's.
So you really weren't complete with just $1,000 water machine. Actually, let's talk about how much they cost with that. Cause I'm not as familiar with how much they cost. I know they're kind of expensive, but why don't you tell everybody?
Yeah. So let me, I don't know why. I still have my charts. So let me, let's see here. Where are we at? So
maybe you're still holding on to hope. Come on, Eddie. Be honest.
Holding on to hope. What am I, a hope hoarder?
Maybe. Some people are, dude. Some people are.
Yeah. You're right. That is definitely one thing that, oof, God. Yeah, I remember these. Okay. So, there are a ton of different models. Base price for, let's see, base price for one of the first ones, actually, 3,900. Yeah.
Just to get you in the door, huh?
See that face? Yeah, that was the face that I made. Yeah,
4,000 to get you in the door.
4,000. Yeah, that just gets you your like first couple of chips. They want you to keep playing
just
the
wets
tables.
Your tongue. I mean, that doesn't that doesn't quench your thirst there.
No. But
that's
if you
what
do
your first
quench
drops
your thirst,
of a Kangen. Dude, what's crazy to me is you're getting water through your tap for free.
Yeah. So
wow.
I don't know, the one thing that was so that made me keep hope, but at the same time I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to work. Like I just can't, I can't sell that price. It's like Kirby's, right? The vacuum. Those are like $1,200 for a brand new machine. So, but the difference is like that lasts. I mean, a good while. It's like made out of steel and whatever. Sometimes cast aluminum. Anyway, so sometimes you'll see prices like this, and immediately the people were like, "I'm not doing that. Like, I'm out. Like, where do I get out of here?"
Most people don't have $4,000 to drop like that, anyways.
No. And so the trick was selling hope to you. And so once they sold the hope to you, then you find out like, oh man, that would be cool. There was this exercise, right? Where we were inside of the community thing, and part of the paperwork that you'd fill out, or the online paperwork, it was like, describe in the most detail your ideal morning. And they wanted location, what you were doing, like what you were going to eat, like as much detail as possible. And then that way it was ingrained in your head where you're like, oh man, that's exactly what I want. All I got to do is sell this machine. I can get that. Oh, cool. Yeah, take my money. Take it. I don't want it. Give me freedom.
Right,
I got it.
Come on. What's $4,000 if it means you're making $10,000 or $20,000 or $100,000?
Yeah, and the terrible thing is, like, the promise of that being non-existent ended up falling on all the people, because it became like, well, if I can't sell this, like, that's on me. And there were some people in the community that made that very clear, where they were like, I mean, you just got to sell. Like, I don't, you can watch all the videos you want, but until you sell, like, I can't really help you out, man.
Hey, how hard is it really to sell 4 units a month? Come on, Eddie.
Oh,
Easy.
yeah.
Easy.
4? No. 6. You need 6 out the door. Oh, God.
They always do those stupid equations that sound plausible but aren't plausible. Like if you talk to 10 people a day and one of them buys, all you have to do is do that 6 days in a row and you got 6 sales. Isn't it so easy? Isn't it that easy?
Yeah.
That's what sales trainers and sales managers always do. They always use that stupid math. It never actually works. It's never that you talk to 10 people and one of them buys. It never happens.
No. It's like in their mind, in a perfect world, they go 10 for 1. They're like, 10 no's, 1 yes, And if you get 10 no's or like 11 no's, big deal. You go on to the next 10. You'll get 2 yeses at the end of that.
And what a lot of people need to understand too is that not only is this an expensive machine, I've done a little bit of research, by the way.
Yeah, good.
It's also competitively outpriced by everybody else in the market. So it's not just that it's an expensive luxury machine. A lot of competitors, they allege that they're doing very similar things, if not more, at a lower price point. So it's hard to sell that. No matter how good of a salesman you are, at the end of the day, if it's the same product for less, people just go with that. So I think you're right that it has to come down to the hope, because what else? What's the other advantage besides that? And that really is what I've noticed from MLMs. They're sort of the good salesmen, the people who succeed are masters at tapping into the hope, you shouldn't be satisfied, you can do better, and with us you will do better, right? They give you that vision for the future, even if it's not plausible.
Right. And that's definitely the selling point that they always had, was an idea, like the possibility. Because at the end of the day, you think about it like, well, man, if I get laid off for whatever reason, which, a lot of people get laid off for almost no reason,
right.
A lot of things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of instill that fear into you almost, where you're like, well, I mean, if I get laid off, I'm screwed. I need to start looking and doing something. Why not start here? This is a great opportunity.
Sure.
You got the paperwork for the loan though? Cause I need to apply for one. I don't have that cash. And unfortunately, a lot of people went down the financial tube because, one second here, because not only did they buy that first machine, they bought that second machine, which, let's see, there are a couple of machines that they have. Actually, you know what? I misspoke last time. So this is the mobile machine, which is $3,900. Your stationary machine, the K8 Kangen, is $4,900. Along with your yearly subscription to your supplements, and that's another maybe 1,000 depending on what you get. So just on products alone, they can upsell you almost
10 grand.
10 grand right there, right in the door. 10 grand.
And that's basically, and is that tied to how much money you can make, basically?
The machines?
Yeah.
So yes, and they base your purchases and purchases under your name on your rank or your level, whatever you want to call it, because as your sales progress, that's how you progress. And so if you sell 3 machines, that boosts you, and then also puts the person that you sold them to in like a starter spot, really. So they get their first rank, but that's how you move up. You sell.
Now, a lot of people are going to say, hey, isn't that a job where you sell and you move up? Talk about what is commonly thought of when it comes to MLMs, which is the focus on recruiting over actual sales.
So the one thing that I did notice, they definitely wanted you to sell, but at the same time, it wasn't just like, it wasn't just selling the product to people that weren't interested in the opportunity that we had.
I see. So it's like,
because
it's like recruit selling.
Yeah. So it was essentially like, hey, check out this product. Or they were really, what ended up getting me was, the idea of the freedom and all of that. That's how they get you in the door. And then they're like, oh yeah, all you got to do is sell these machines. So you might as well, stick around with us, and then you can just keep moving up. Like, no big deal,
No big deal.
No big deal. Yeah. That's how they made it seem. I was like, easy peasy, whatever. Live on a beach, man.
That easy.
That easy.
How much money did you make? Well, walk us through now. Now you bought in. So are you making money? When do you start making money? When do you start making that money?
Making that money. So there was a side community that I was also part of that was like,
what?
There was a group
rescuing pandas or some random thing again?
No. I mean, it's the same company, but like, how those top tier guys were competing. I kind of, slid over to one other one, trying to follow the rabbit hole, And so what ended up happening is I made a little bit of sales on the other side, and it was like, let's see. It was one set of the 3 machines, and you made, I think it was 30% on that, which was like a decent amount of money at that time, which I think, let's see, that was like, I want to say that last transaction was like 3,500, I think.
That's nice.
On all the stuff that they had sold. Yeah. But the thing is, once they started, getting into like, hey, we're revamping this community, making the system and stuff, there goes another upsell where they ended up saying, okay, we're going to launch this system where 90% of it is done for you. 90% of it.
Like an automation thing. This is so common now. Like
they're trying to automate it.
Automated MLMs?
Yeah. Pretty much.
We really have hit the 21st century, boys.
Oh yeah.
It is a new age.
Oh man. Yeah. And once they started putting it out.
Hold on. Let me guess. MLMs finally figured out what advertising is. It's direct selling, but automated.
Yeah. What's better than automation? Yeah. So the pitch was 90%, you do 10% of the work. The 10% of the work was like a depleted uranium 10%, because that was a whole lot of lifting that you still had to do, because you still had to get leads, you still had to run ads. You still had to spend the money on ads. Like your ad spend was, oh God, at one point I had an ad spend per day of like $300 like a day.
And what are you trying to do?
So
what is the ad? The ad is written for you?
So they tried to do some like templates that had like essentially just like ideas of like what you could put in the ad. They were like, oh, hey, take our ad and then just kind of hedge your face into the beginning and the end of it. And then it'll be our faces that, is selling. And then so many people were like, oh, that's great. Like, we don't really have to make the ad. Like, this is awesome. But for me, trying to be, as efficient as I possibly could, I just said, well, I think I'm going to try and make like my own full ad, try and make it more personable. And so that's what I ended up doing. I just made, I was in Chicago. I was just in the park, and then I just started, filming, and I was like, okay, hey, this is like our opportunity, blah, 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 running the ad or making the ad.
I would love to see this ad.
Oh God, no. God, oh man. I honestly, I still have like the folder of all that stuff. And every time I turn the computer on, I'm like, ooh, should I delete it? No, I'll keep it. I'll just leave it there. Archive it. And so like they would have you run ads. And really, I'd say like 90% of the calls that we would get into when they would do the meetings, it was all essentially like how to run your ads better. So trying to get you more efficient, right? But at the same time, like halfway through it, somebody starts crying, like as they're giving their testimonial, and that I'm not going to put names out there, but there was one guy that was in the top of the whole thing. And at one point he was like, I just got to tell you guys, like, I love you guys, man. Like, this is the community to be in. Like, oh God. And then he's just bawling his eyes out, trying to sell it harder and harder. Like, guys, don't stop. Don't stop. My life depends on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit. All right. So eventually, you feel like you've gotten wise to, the whole ad spend thing. Cause like you've tried so many things. I have like pages and pages of different like sets and things like that. Cause it's all preset stuff. You'd set up all of your ads and, you'd run ads. There were people, way deeper than I was. They'd be running ad sets of like, oh God. They were claiming that their ad sets were running at like $5,000 a day. $5,000 a day.
They must be getting crazy conversions on that.
They had to have. Otherwise, or they're lying. Like, I don't.
And people get the ad and then they come to a seminar or they sign up right away or.
So much like, the golden age of the Alex Beckers and whatnot, you see the ad, you go to the free webinar, you sign up. So you continuously get the emails like, hey, we're going live in 5 minutes, whatever. And
that's a good Alex Becker impression.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sounds just like him. We're about to be live. Hey, are you going to be there? Hey,
you going to be there? Yeah.
Hey, how about this wolf mug? How about this wolf mug?
You like this wolf mug? No.
Is Alex Becker over? Is the age of the Alex Beckers, the golden age, over? Just as an aside.
So telling this story, I feel like I was in the prehistoric age because Alex Becker was like, the successor to all of this, it seems like. Right. I don't know. Like, there's just so many new ones. Every time that I watch a video or like right before the video, no joke, yesterday I had seen 5 different people running very similar ads of the same thing. Like, oh, hey, Amazon, FBA, like we're doing drop shipping. Like,
or Amazon automation is the new thing.
Automation. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely is.
Now you can make money without anything. You don't need to do anything. Hey, don't you want free money and no effort? It's like the height of the get rich quick scheme. Hey, don't you want to do absolutely nothing and make money? Well, have we got a product for you?
Oh, yeah.
Suspend all your disbelief right away.
Do you know how to look at a screen and just do nothing?
Yeah.
Do that. We'll make millions. Oh, sweet.
Okay, so go ahead. So you have the webinar, right?
Yeah. So we'd have the webinar, and they would pretty much. They would just keep selling us on the same thing over and over again, and the one thing that you could always count on is them talking about either or meditation and reading books, getting your Lamborghini knowledge, and
you're kidding.
No, really, like, I want to say a real good majority of like the brainwashing was like getting in the correct mindset, because they believed that if you could visualize what you were going to get,
of course,
it would materialize.
Of course.
I don't, what's that book?
The Secret.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Or Think and Grow Rich. I mean, it's a lot of the same thing. The key to that is that the implication is you don't need to know how it's going to work. Hey,
no,
you're going to get rich and you don't need to understand how. Your whole problem is that you haven't been thinking about how wealthy you're going to be. So keep thinking. And also it's a way to like self brainwash, because if you're constantly thinking about being rich, then obviously the biggest thing not to do is think about the possibility of failure, because now you're no longer attracting the wealth, right? Exactly. So it's a way to self-reinforce the brainwashing of, oh, you're going to make money. Hey, you're going to make money. Why? Because you have to be thinking of making money. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of those things, like they say it so many times, and then eventually you actually believe
it. Yeah.
Yeah. You believe it. And then at some point you're like, man, like, is the road ever going to end? Like, am I going to get there? No, you're not going to get there. What do you mean? You're never going to make it to the end of that road. Like, that's not.
What's insidious is that some people do, obviously, right? And that's the whole attraction, is you have all these mentors who are talking about how much money they made, although they have every incentive to inflate their numbers. Everybody has an incentive to fake it till you make it, because you attract people in MLMs are successful, attract more people. So, but then the person you are under probably has a mentor that's more successful. So everyone's kind of looking up going, hey, am I ever going to be up there? And the answer, of course, is probably not. Actually, there's like 99% chance not. But we just don't think in statistics. Humans aren't equipped to think logically like that. We're equipped to be susceptible to sales, psychology, persuasion, magical thinking.
Magical thinking.
That's what that's what a lot of these things are based off of. So,
yeah. And that's. So once I started getting towards the end of, this whole thing, the guy that was above me, the guy that brought me in, he actually left, and him and a pretty big group of people left, and they tried to pursue something else. Like you were saying before, it was probably, a very similar, architecture of things. And so they left, and they started getting into crypto and, a lot, like a couple other MLM things that they're trying to do. And once they did that, then I was like, oh man, there's that switch again. Like, is it one less that I have to deal with? Is that one less person that I have to compete with? Or was that a wealth of knowledge that's now gone? And now what do? I feel helpless. But there was one person that I ended up talking to for like a good while. And he was like the most upfront person in the whole thing. But then in the end, I just decided like, I can't spend any more money. Like I can't do it.
How much money had you spent at this point?
Total, I was just right at
10,000.
Yeah. And once I got to that point with, really no, go ahead.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Well, once I got to that point of like, I couldn't see myself like being able to keep up, cutting down that margin, and becoming profitable in all of this. Then I just said, no, I'm not. Like, my subscription thing ran out, and I just kind of ghosted. I just disappeared. I was like, I'm out. Pull the cord, man. I'm out. Like that's exactly what I had to do. Otherwise,
did you feel any shame around failing?
So, yeah. And that's really, that's kind of the shitty thing, cause like
it is,
it makes you feel like the whole quitting thing was entirely your fault, because you couldn't make it, you couldn't hack it, but at the same time, like once I started peeling back those layers and seeing like what was really going on with all those other people, cross recruiting, and like there was one person, I guess, he was somehow switching between accounts, building his account. And so, I mean, it was really confusing, but like somehow essentially he was like building himself up using the same people, just switching back and forth, doing different accounts. And so somehow he kept going, and it was like he was just cheating the system.
Good for him.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I was like, man, that is inspirational. That is inspirational. It's terrible.
Scamming an MLM, who would have thought?
Who would have thought, right? And a few of those people ended up getting kicked out.
It really is, though, a pernicious thought that when you leave, it was your fault, because the whole time you're kind of encouraged to talk about people who also fail and drop off the map as sort of being inferior for their failure to keep up, I guess, or like push on. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So then when you fail, then you feel like, oh man, this is all my fault. I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
When in reality, the system is just messed up.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not designed to succeed or make you money.
Yeah. You were set up in the beginning, in the very beginning, almost 100% of the time to fail. Especially through that.
Yeah. It's
structure,
I mean, and to the people who say like, I don't know, it's just the wrong MLM. It's kind of like saying, hey, we've never tried communism kind of thing. Like it's like
the
true form of MLM has never been really tried.
Oh man.
I'm half Cuban, so I really have my grandparents especially instilled in me a hatred for that argument. Of like the no true communism thing. It's kind of funny. They were like, no, we've tried communism.
No, it's not cool.
But there's this guy, Robert Fitzpatrick. I talked about him when I did a MLM video back in the day. He talks a lot about how mathematically MLM sets you up to lose. Just if you run the numbers on the structure, the commission payout structures of MLMs, not only can everybody not make it, the majority of people will not make it. The vast majority not only will not make it, but will lose money. It's something around the range of 95 to 99% of people will lose money with an MLM.
Yeah.
Which means it's not your fault, though. That's what that means. That means it's not your fault. It's not for lack of trying. It's statistics. People want to ignore that statistics like matter and count.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, realistically, if you look at it, from the numbers aspect, like you really can't win. Especially when you have, some crooked sellers that are doing, somewhat shady things, like then you especially can't win, because then they're just setting you up to fail even harder. Right. And how do you combat that? You can't. They're just like, they're the ones that are kind of in charge of, I don't know. Oh, it's one of those things where once I was done with it, I realized, okay, like no more. And once I stepped out of it and I ghosted, I don't know. I told myself I have to do something legitimate, And so luckily I found my way back to cooking. Right. And then I just started teaching. And so I
teaching what? Cooking.
Culinary. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool.
Started teaching culinary classes. And so after that, then I just thought there's no reason, because to me, I think the experience that I have now, I mean, the bad experience from that, but then also the good experience that I had prior, cooking and whatnot. I just realized that I mean, there's there's so many better opportunities than like, hey, I got this credit card. Can you promise that I'll be rich? Because nobody can, you know.
Good for you, man. That's really great. Not where do you teach, but do you teach it like, I don't want you to give away your location, but you're like, do you teach at a high school or like?
So I actually teach, it's adult enrichment. And so
cool.
Essentially I teach for a career center, and the classes, like the area that I'm in, we have, which I wish I had when I was growing up. They have like actual cooking classes, and in each of the high schools they have like a chef that runs all of that stuff, and so it's like home ec on steroids because there's actual chefs there, which is amazing. Like I never thought that was a thing until I got to a city, and I was like, man, it's really a thing.
Yeah.
So through this career center, I just teach the adult classes. And so essentially people that just want to learn, like, hey, I'm teaching this French cuisine night, I'm doing this. And then if they're interested in like doing a date night or whatever, then they come out and, check it out. So, yeah.
That's really awesome. Well, you seem like a great dude. Sort of wrapping up here, I'm trying to think about, what do you think were the key flaws in your thinking? I don't want to say flaws, but the maybe red flags maybe you overlooked, or if you could just look back on the experience and think about where you may have gone wrong, how you could have prevented kind of getting sucked into it. Do you think it was like a naivety? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think honestly, probably first and foremost, the main one would have been, I guess, the immediate like wanting more, the feeling of wanting more, and that's kind of how they initially hook you.
Of course.
And so feeling like, once you get complacent, then you're like, oh man, like the possibilities, I could do this. And they let you believe that, like they feed it to you, and you'll eat it up. And that really should have been one of the first red flags. But then after that, it was like you had to pay to play. Now, if you were investing in a company, like, making actual investments, I guess that makes sense. But at the same time, like, this wasn't that at all. Like, it was sales to make sales.
You're paying to get a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to McDonald's. So we'll keep half your check.
Because you have to be our customer.
Because
every time you leave, you have to buy a burger. And then the person who came in for their shift is going to cook you that burger. And then when you come in for the shift, they're going to leave and they're going to order a burger and you're going to cook them that burger.
Never ending cycle.
It's a genius system, guys. It makes so much sense.
It's ingenious. Well, look at that. So probably that. And then really the mindset thing was, I think, to me, the part that threw me for the biggest loop, because they try and get you to think like something has always been wrong with your mindset, like as a person, and they're trying to.
Right. That's why you're poor. That's why you're poor.
Exactly. It's like rich dad, poor dad, like they're just trying to get you. You got to believe that you're going to be rich, And
do you know that rich dad was never a thing? Like the rich dad, poor dad, the book, right? And he has like a rich dad, poor dad. He never had a rich dad or a poor dad. Later, he said that he made them up. They're more like Harry Potter characters. That's what he said.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
He's waffled back and forth about it. Like maybe he's kind of like, well, maybe there's a rich dad and maybe there's a poor dad. But at one point he's like, well, why don't we just think of them more as Harry Potter characters? And everyone's like, no, that's if they're not real, doesn't that defeat your whole book?
Oh
and mind you, Robert Kiyosaki's the guy who's like, your network is your net worth. Oh my gosh, dude. Terrible.
Oh man.
He has done, in my opinion, he's done a lot of harm to people who believe now because of his book about multi-level marketing that, oh, that's the way of the future. Because Robert Kiyosaki said it, right?
Yeah.
He's got some crazy ideas. Now you're kind of happy doing the culinary thing. You got any big plans for the future?
Yeah. So now, I've been trying to transition into more of a digital classes. The only thing is, there's so many people on YouTube, you know, that have so many, like, making whatever, anything really. And so to me, the only way that I can really succeed doing that, is selling my personality. And that's a lot of times I feel like channels that do gain traction, it's because that person's likable, or, you know.
That's why we're never going anywhere, baby.
Oh, geez. No.
That's why we're staying at the bottom.
No, you're a dime. You're a dime.
Hey, do you have a YouTube channel?
No. Soon to come.
Come on. Why don't we start your YouTube channel right now? Are you going to do a cooking YouTube channel?
I mean, yeah. You know what?
Dude, cooking makes so much money. The cooking channels, they're banking, dude. Just making some stupid, like, tofu once. They shoot it nice. Everyone loves it. I watch it. Hey,
yeah, I mean, I mostly just shoot all my stuff for, like, Instagram and stuff.
If you were to name your channel, what would it be right now? Give the people a name that they can follow right now. Because by the time this is live, you're going to have made a channel that's called this. Go.
The Bigger Plate.
Ooh, I like that.
But the interesting thing about that is it's not ER, it's AR, because that's part of my name. So I had to make it that way.
All right. Make it difficult on the rest of us. Thanks a lot. I will leave a link below. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. And I'm glad that I got to share my story. So hopefully no one else makes that same mistake.
For sure. Take care.